Hi everyone, it's John. I wanted to bring you a book review this afternoon of someone that I had planned to read a few books, both by and about, but only really got around to one. Someone who is kind of misunderstood in the history of big ideas, I think, and especially political science. And that person is Machiavelli. So, I forget where I heard about this particular recommendation from. I might have had it in my library sitting all along just waiting to get read, or I might have bought it on another booktuber's recommendation. I can't remember. But this book's name is Machiavelli in Hell, and it is by Sebastian de Grazia. It won, I think it came out in 1989, and won the Pulitzer Prize in nonfiction either that year or in 1990. It's kind of like an intellectual biography that covers a lot of the different subjects and topics that Machiavelli wrote about across his entire span of writing, from his plays to his personal letters to Il Principe. You know, everyone knows The Prince. If you've read anything by Machiavelli, it's probably that. But the interesting thing about it is that de Grazia takes everything that Machiavelli wrote and builds only from that. He doesn't read any secondary sources, and he doesn't read any translations of anything. So he goes back and he reads the letters, the plays, he was a legate for Florence, sort of a diplomatic secretary in the city of Florence. Read his work then, and doesn't rely on any secondary sources at all, which is really kind of fascinating. I thought an interesting approach for a book. De Grazia's intellectual biography takes what might be the wholly unique form of being stitched together solely from Machiavelli's own work. Like I said, the entire book doesn't cite anyone else other than Niccolo Machiavelli himself, and relies wholly on his work, like I said, as a Florentine government official. 2 comic plays, mostly Grazia and Mandragola, Il Principe, the discourses on Livy, and Machiavelli's own personal journals and letters. De Grazia is going for Machiavelli strictly in his own words, on his own terms, a way that he's usually not encountered in a lot of scholarly presentations. And this might be refreshing for people who are just getting introduced to Machiavelli, say like college freshmen, but might be a source of frustration for people who are very well versed in him, like scholars who would read this book knowing very well that some of the conclusions that de Grazia might think are his have actually been reached by other scholars first. This book is tough to categorize because of the way that it's written. It straddles the lines of intellectual history and biography, and it's kind of also at the same time an attempted synthesis of nearly all of Machiavelli's important ideas, not just the ones in The Prince either. De Grazia emphasizes, and maybe this is what the title is pointing to, the ways in which Machiavelli was forced to justify to his bosses, basically, these political grandees, the need for evil to the rulers that he served. The ideas on religion and patriotism taken up in the Discorsi, the discourses on Livy, come to reflect Machiavelli's burgeoning ideas of what we would call today a realist realpolitik. De Grazia looks at Machiavelli's life and work in thematic clusters, and not so much chronologically. Looks at themes like love, cruelty, justice, evil, things like that. If there was one thing to recommend the book, it would be the way in which the author tries to inhabit Machiavelli's intellectual world instead of just trying to analytically reconstruct it. It's written in the intimate way someone would write about their times with a close personal friend. And this allows for Grazia to deconstruct old boundaries that are usually respected in attempts at intellectual biography, like the division between the personal and the private life, between Machiavelli's moral weaknesses and his intellectual strengths, etc. Grazia gives you Machiavelli here, warts and all, especially the private warts with his sexual indiscretions. This would be a good place to start, like I hinted at earlier, for undergraduates who have only been spoon-fed very limited ideas about what Machiavelli is all about, probably mostly by professors who know little more than their students, especially in survey classes. Not talking about all professors. And what little students are actually given to learn about Machiavelli with and for really skews what he's all about. I think a lot of people walk away having read The Prince or having been told that it's about how to inform your power-hungry despot/boss who will, stop at nothing to maintain complete control. And that's really not. It's a very oversimplified version of what Machiavelli is really trying to do in the grand scheme of things. But the book presents its subject as very much a man of his own time, but also a subtle thinker whose ideas grow organically out of his involvement with the books that he read and his experiences as a Florentine diplomat. So, if you want a reconstruction of a biography and also a simultaneous history of ideas kind of in one that is completely standalone, based only on Machiavelli's writings, try this, Sebastian de Grazia's Machiavelli in Hell. And I will see you later. Bye.